He's literally trying to kill her, and she's
Right.
like, oh, he's so pretty.
I love it now because I'm the one he's killing.
Right. She's gone. So far gone. Speaking of being a good friend, I need you to be a good friend and do this next part for me.
Thanks, Whit.
I emotionally cannot handle it.
I think this is one of my favorite affirmations we've done so far. I love it.
Yes.
Love it.
It was a little unexpected, but I love it too. Who knew that Nyaxia would inspire such a great affirmation? Hi, and welcome to Romantasy Remedy. I'm Whitney.
And I'm Kenzie. We're sisters-in-law and book besties who thrive on daily doses of magic and romance from our favorite fantasy stories.
So, if your emotional support animal is a dragon and your therapist has shadow powers, you're in the right place. Thanks for being here and for liking, rating, and following our show. Before we get started, this is our official content warning. Simply put, Romantasy Remedy is a podcast for grown-ups. The topics and language will reflect that. Listen at your comfort level.
And one more thing before we dive into The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. Our spoiler warning. For most of the episode, there will only be spoilers for chapters 46 through 50. But at the end of today's episode, we will have our Spoiler Central segment where we make connections to events later in the book and the entire Crowns of Nyaxia series. Don't worry, we'll give another big warning before Spoiler Central begins.
Thanks, Kenz. One of our goals here at Romantasy Remedy is to highlight how books in this genre inspire readers. When we see characters facing fears, overcoming challenges, and growing into their potential, it helps us to do the same. So each week, we'll choose a quote from the chapters we read to be an affirmation, a phrase to empower and motivate us. This week's affirmation says, "She was an event." We love this because we all have times when we need the reminder to boldly be ourselves, to lean into our passions, lean into our beauty, and not to apologize if that's too much for some people. We base this affirmation on words spoken about Nyaxia. Keep listening to get all the details surrounding this amazing quote later in the episode. And don't forget, you can find a printable version of the affirmation in the show notes in case you want to stick it on your mirror or fridge or wherever. And with that, Kenzie is going to recap what happened in this week's section of chapters.
An old trial time, baby. Araya steps in and is immediately up against 3 cosplay champions from the White Pantheon, Atruxis, Ix, and Kajmar. She dismantles them like a pro, decapitation for Karaoke King, hand removal for Miss Arrows, and a Nightfire arrow straight to Mr. Sun's chest. She moves on and finds Ibrahim, who's so injured, it's basically a mercy match. They give each other a final fair fight. She wins, he dies with dignity. Then Rain and Angelica arrive. Angelica comes at Araya like a rage-fueled lawnmower, nearly kills her, then hesitates. So Araya doesn't. One stab later, Angelica's out. That leaves Rain. They start slow, pulling punches until Araya demands he stop holding back. Swords, Nightfire, Asteres, it's brutal. Rain pushes her to give everything, and in the end, she kills him with his help. Araya is wrecked. Nyaxia shows up like, congrats, you win. What do you want? Araya could claim ultimate power, but instead, she tells Nyaxia she wishes Rain had won. Ugh, so much.
Oh my goodness. The worst day ever has arrived.
I can't believe we're here already.
I know. We were talking about before we started recording how in true Romantasy fashion, the end of this book is crazy and there's a lot going on. So everybody buckle up. This is the new moon trial, and Araya finds herself alone with 3 figures who immediately start trying to kill her. Surprise, surprise. Remember that the new moon trial represents Nyaxia fighting all 12 gods of the White Pantheon. So Araya figures out that the figures in her enclosure represent Atraxis, who is the god of the sun and the king of the White Pantheon, and he's shooting fire at her. Then the second figure is Ix, And Ix is the goddess of sex and fertility, and she is shooting arrows at Araya. And then we have Kajmar, the god of seduction, art, and beauty, and he's doing some kind of weird, like, paralyzing scream singing at Araya.
Something like that.
To make things especially morbid, these god puppets are actually the corpses of her fallen rivals from the Kejari. So gross. Can we all agree that Nyaxia is super twisted?
I mean, if we didn't think she was before, she definitely is now. My goodness.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Aurea stabs Kashmar and she figures out he doesn't die, right? And she realizes that since these god puppets aren't truly alive, you have to dismantle their weapons, and that's how you're going to defeat them. So little Serpent wastes no time. She cuts off Kashmar's head, so no more scream singing. She hacks off Ix's hands, so hard to shoot arrows without those. And then she shoots Nightfire into Atruxis, which consumes his fire. But there's something really meaningful about her victory over Atruxis. And Whit, can you tell us about how Array described that moment?
Would love to. Here's what she says. I didn't hear the rapid screams of the crowd or the crack of the flames or even the pound of my own heartbeat. I called and he wouldn't come. I only heard Misha's sobs over the abandonment of the god to whom she had given her life. Nightfire tore over the length of my arrow. It became a shooting star of fury as I let it fly. It buried right into Atraxis's chest, the core of his power. For a moment, his fire and mine, warm, light, and cold, clashed with each other. Mine won. It is so beautiful that Araya's desire to avenge Misha fuels the downfall of Puppet Atraxis. So cool. And especially with Nightfire, which is what Misha first started teaching Araya about, their magic lessons together.
Right.
And
Another
so I
full
love
circle
that.
moment.
Totally a full circle moment. I just love it. When Araya kills Puppet Atraxis, the door to her enclosure opens, and she goes through, and she sees Vincent right away as she comes through the door. And he is
Right.
not sitting still in his special king seat. He is standing against the railing, clutching it. Araya says that the expression on his face rearranged everything inside her. It makes her think about how it was easy to hate him when she was angry, but she found it impossible to hate him when he looked at her that way. Kenz, what did Araya say exactly during this part?
She said, my anger made everything certain and easy. My love made everything complicated and difficult. Such a good quote. We could deep dive that forever, but I think we can all relate to this, right? Sometimes it is easier to be angry, or it's more simple, right? More black and white when you can just be angry at someone. Love requires working through ugly parts of someone. It requires forgiveness, which is not always an easy thing to do. It's just a very good quote, and it makes so much sense.
Absolutely.
And then all of these things and all of these thoughts, right, distract Araya, and she almost gets shot in the back by Ibrahim. When she looks at him, she realizes he has been fighting incredibly hard, and he's actually in pretty rough shape. And so much so, which this breaks my heart, that the crowd starts laughing at him. Like, can we give this guy a break through everything he's been through? And now he's at the
Seriously,
last.
they're such jerks. Such
They
jerks.
are. This poor guy cannot catch a break, and he's in the last. He's in the last trial. How many people
Some
haven't made it
respect,
that
man.
far? I know. Like, give the guy a break. And anyway, so when she looks at him, she realizes he's fought incredibly hard. He's rough shape, but both of them growing up in this world that had hurt them, she feels that connection to him. And not only that, they both have fought twice as hard to make up for it, right? And both of them having every reason to hate that. Ibrahim starts to give up, but Araya tells him to give her a fair fight because remember the last trial, only one person is making this out. There's no like, hey, let's get to the arch together. It's fighting to the death, and she'll give him a fair death. Their fight only lasts a few moments, and just before Araya kills him, Ibrahim says, "I'm glad it was you." I cried. I cried at this part because I feel so bad for him and that he got laughed at. It just was so humiliating and I hate it, but I'm so happy that it was Araya, and I think he obviously was too. But am I the only one feeling unexpectedly emotional about Ibrahim's death?
No, you're not. I cried too, and I just felt that connection between Araya and Ibrahim so deeply when I read that part. Just like you said, he's had this connection to Araya the entire book, and so I'm so glad that he and Araya were finalists here at the Kejari, kind of like a big middle finger to everybody else in Obi Trace who tried to cage them. So
I'm
well
with
done,
him. Yes.
Ibrahim and Araya. This tender moment ends quickly because Rain shows up and Angelica is shortly after. So, after a brief hesitation, Araya and Angelica lunge for each other. Araya is quick, but Angelica is just too dang strong for her. Just when Araya is sure that she's about to die, she sees Rain give a subtle nod to someone in the stands.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, Angelica stops. So Araya seizes that moment and kills her. As Angelica is dying, she tells Araya, "Good luck." Araya comments that her body hit the sand with a heavy thump, all that weight of greatness fallen. I appreciate that Araya seems to kind of respect these final contestants in the Kejari, including Angelica.
Absolutely.
And I have to agree with her that these are the ones who deserved to potentially win the Kejari. I think Angelica did have greatness in her character.
Right.
What admirable qualities do you see in Angelica? Do you agree with what Araya says
I
about her
do.
here?
And it's so funny because when you're obviously reading it from Array's perspective, you're going to see it one way. But then if you read it from Angelica's, it's probably going to make you see it a totally different way. But I think we can see that Angelica was a leader who cared about her own and fought for her own. I mean, remember how upset she was when Ivan died at the last trial. And she also has this quiet dignity. She didn't let the blood curse sway her confidence, and she was strong and determined, and she totally deserved to be a Kajari finalist. I can't imagine I I when reading it and Angelica's dying and she says good luck, my stomach kind of dropped like, "Mm, what does that mean coming from her?" What does that mean?
Sounds ominous.
Yes. So now we are down to two. Final trial. We're down to two, Rain and Araya. And this part sucks so bad because just one, right? So Rain
We
moves
all saw it
first and
coming, and it still
I
sucks.
know it still sucks. I think we always think like there's gonna be like this ta-da happy ending. I don't know, something's gonna happen, but no. So
No.
it just sucks. And Rain moves first, and his fight with Araya begins. She describes how they knew each other's movements so well from training together for so long, for killing other vampires together, and they just knew what to expect. And it
Doing
felt
other things together.
truly. And it felt depraved to use their intimacy to kill each other, knowing each other so well. But then she tells him he's holding back and he better effing do it. Sounds like Araya. So then
Sure
they
does.
really, truly fight. And Rain's Asteries and Araya's Nightfire are going crazy. It's a battle, right? And even when Rain is going for blood, Araya can't help but admire him. She actually says, "Perhaps I could only appreciate every brushstroke of death once I was the canvas." Crazy.
That comment is crazy, but also like a little bit funny to me because he's literally trying to kill her, and she's
Right.
like, "Oh, he's so pretty."
I love it now because I'm the one he's killing.
Right. She's gone, so far gone.
Right.
But then, but then, Rain slices her arm, and she says that his eyes are cold, and he hits hard again. Araya admits that it kind of hurts to see him looking at her in that cold way, and it's almost like, oh, you are a little hurt that he's doing exactly what you told him to do 3 seconds ago. Okay,
Right.
cool. Um, but I get it. She thinks of Alana here and how Alana had once told her, "You don't have to live this way." And that is the memory that kind of rallies Araya, and she kind of goes for broke and just really starts fighting Rain with a renewed vigor, so to speak, and renewed energy. And I love that it's Alana's words that give her fight back. And right there with Misha giving her the drive to kill puppet Atraxis, you know? And to
Right.
me, that's a great lesson about how powerful a good friend and a good friendship can be in your life. And even after,
Absolutely.
Lana's not even alive anymore, but her memory
No.
is still blessing Araya and empowering Araya. So I love that idea. Like,
Yeah,
don't underestimate the power of a good friend.
I agree. And it's so important and so true. And even like with Ilana, she may be gone, but those lessons are lifelong. She'll always carry those with her because of Alana.
Love that. Love that so much. Well, Araya and Rain go at it until she has Rain beneath her and her blade is to his chest. They're both very beat up at this point. Like, they've really done a number on each other. Rain grips Araya's wrist and says, "There she is." Oh, gosh. I can't.
Come
Um,
on.
and when he says that, Araya realizes that he had been baiting her. So, like, that cold look in his eyes, probably not even real. He was baiting her, trying to get her to fight back with, like, her full strength. And since Araya snapped out of rage battle mode at this point, she's trying to coach herself through the next steps of killing
Right.
Rain. And she reminds herself she has people she needs to help. She has work to do. She has power to gain. And Rain interrupts her thoughts with this phrase, "End it, princess." Oh my gosh. You're going to have to do the next part because speaking of being a
Ugh.
good friend, I need you to be a good friend and do this
Oh,
next
yeah.
part for me.
Thanks, Whit.
I emotionally cannot handle it.
Even when you said that just now, I get like goosebumps. And I don't want to, but I guess I can be a good friend right now.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Araya shuts her eyes and thought she was pulling her hand away, but instead she feels the blade go in. And perhaps because Rain pulled it there. It's eerily similar to the interlude where she kills her teenage vampire lover. But different at the same time. So
This is
later,
worse.
moments later, this is worse, way worse. And just moments later, Rain is dead. And so are we.
Feel
You
dead.
made
Feel
me
dead inside.
say Rain is dead, so I'm making you read Araya's super sad quote about it.
Fine. Fine. Araya is totally overcome by Rain's death. Here are a few things that she says. "I had just gotten everything I'd ever wanted, all my greatest dreams fulfilled, and all I could think was, no, no, he wasn't dead." Then another thing that she says, "In this game, only one of us would win, and it shouldn't have been me. It shouldn't have been me. Nothing existed except for him and the light I had just snuffed out of this world." Oh my gosh. You could just feel her heartbreak right now.
Oh,
And while she is thinking and feeling all of this, she's totally missing being declared the Kejari winner. Like, in the background, the minister's like declaring her the winner of the Kejari,
right.
and she like completely misses it. And this tracks for Araya because remember, like the other trials too, when she would wake up or whatever, when it would end, she would not be focusing on her achievement. She was focusing
No.
on, oh my gosh, is the human girl okay? Or, you know what I mean? Like, she was focused on the
Yeah.
people, the relationships. And so it makes sense. Again, we're seeing this in her. She's not thinking about winning. She's not thinking about Nyaxia is going to come and give me my Coriolis bond. She's like,
Right.
oh my gosh, Rain is gone. And I did that. So totally
Right.
overcome. And then this is when Nyaxia makes her entrance. So
Oh,
tell us about Nyaxia,
Nyaxia.
Kenzie.
Well, finally meeting Nyaxia, and Aurea has some interesting thoughts about Nyaxia. Basically, once Aurea realizes that Nyaxia is there, she's totally overcome by her, which is interesting because in my head, like, she's been so sick and twisted this whole time that I'm like, you know, one image of her. But Aurea says that she's overcome by her beauty and her power. And in fact, Aurea says that Nyaxia wasn't a person. She was an event. which is where we got the inspiration for today's affirmation. Nyaxia's total overwhelming present is a great reminder to be our own kind of event. Whatever makes us feel powerful and like the goddesses we are, don't apologize for it. Anything you want to add about the affirmation?
Just to be proud to be you. We all have unique gifts and unique beauty that's needed in this world. So please print out this affirmation and take time to remind yourself that, like Nyaxia, you are an event.
I think this is one of my favorite affirmations we've done so far. I love it.
Yes.
Love it.
It was a little unexpected, but I love it too. Who knew that Nyaxia would inspire such a great affirmation?
After all these other things she's been doing, yes.
I know.
So before addressing Aurea, Nyaxia actually looks at Vincent and says, "She has your eyes." What a strange thing to say about someone's adopted daughter, Nyaxia. Then she asks Aurea, yeah. Mhm. um, she asks Aurea what wish she can grant for her. And Aurea doesn't answer immediately. And so Nyaxia observed that she's grieving, which we've talked about before. Like, we feel like Nyaxia must have somewhat of a soft spot for Aurea throughout these trials. It just seems like there's some sort of connection. And they had this momentary connection, obviously, here where Nyaxia says she knows what it's like to grieve and lose half of one's soul. But then Nyaxia says that perhaps it's a blessing because, quote, "a dead lover can never break your heart." Ugh. I get it, but ugh. In this moment, that's what you're gonna say?
Yeah, no thank you. That's not the
No.
that's not the girl chat we were looking for, Nyaxia.
No. Like, yeah, you're not the girl's girl we need right now.
No.
How
No.
does Aurea respond to this, Whit?
Well, she doesn't agree. Surprise. Listen to this. Here's what Aurea says. Everything I had ever wanted was within my grasp. Power, strength. I could never be afraid again. I could make myself the predator instead of the prey, the hunter instead of the hunted, the ruler instead of the subject. I could make myself a monster to fear. I could make myself something to remember instead of another fading mortal life to forget. Everything was right here. I understood now. It always happened this way. Love was a sacrifice at the altar of power. So just like every other trial, like we were mentioning earlier, Aurea cannot appreciate this victory or appreciate that Nyaxia is here because it's totally eclipsed by losing Rain. And what a line, that love was a sacrifice at the altar of power. And I hope that that's not true in real life, but I kind of suspect that it is a little bit.
Yes, I think it rings pretty true across the board for sure.
Honestly, I was not shocked by what Aurea did next. Like, it is a shocking twist, but also I wasn't shocked that she did this. I was shocked by everything that happens after it, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I wasn't shocked that Aurea told Nyaxia that she wished Rain had won. So instead of using her wish to ask for a Coriolis bond with Vincent, she wishes that Rain had won the Kejari. Oh my gosh. Which we're going to talk all about that next episode.
Next
But
episode.
were you surprised by Aurea's wish?
Well, kind of like you, no, but yes at the same time, because truly up until just a couple chapters ago, she was still defending Vincent. And I think all she had ever lived for and all she had ever fought for was Vincent and then this Coriolis bond. But like you said, the really surprising stuff is yet to come.
Yes. And I don't know why I didn't include this quote in our notes, but it's so good, so I'm going to mention it. It says that she had been trained by Vincent her whole life to look in their eyes when she slides the blade in. And so when she says these words to Nyaxia, she looks in Vincent's eyes and says, "I wish Rain had won." And it's such powerful imagery.
I forgot about that, yes.
And how accurate to how it must have felt for Vincent. Like, he has probably
Yes.
been praying to Nyaxia this entire Kejari that
Right.
Araya will not die and she will win. And she wins. She's the Kejari victor. And what does she do with that? Not
Oh,
follow the plan they had made. And so I can
no.
imagine that it really was like she got stabbed and then it twisted.
Right.
Like,
Right. Well, it's
I'm,
kind of like what you said about Ibrahim earlier, like holding up the middle finger. This was like, I'm looking you in the eyes and I'm giving you the middle finger, and I wish he'd won,
yes.
you know?
Which only makes the events that unfold next even more
Uh, yes.
impactful and crazy, which
Oh,
we're going to talk
just
about
wait.
next time.
Right, because that's where we end our exploration for the Serpent and Wings of Night for today. One of the best parts of reading is learning things that help us with this messy adventure we call life. Each episode, we're going to share a true story that connects to lessons we've learned in these chapters we read. I am going to share a little story about how important friends are. And it's actually kind of interesting because I feel like I see both Misha and Ibrahim in this story, kind of like a
Cool.
mesh of the two. So a little fun
Yes.
fact about me, Whit, you know this. You actually have been to this town. It's so funny. I played some college soccer at a JUCO near where I grew up, but a very little known part of this story is how I actually got there in the first place. So, in high school, I had a good friend who saw something in me that I just didn't. And it just so happened to be my talent on the soccer field. And I actually, funny story, I played growing up at the Y and maybe some like rec leagues and stuff, but I actually did not play super competitive soccer until my junior year of high school. So while I was playing for fun with friends, this friend recognized my potential and kept pushing me to take it seriously. And she's the reason I tried out my junior year. They encouraged me to train harder. She helped me build confidence and even connected me with the right people. Without me knowing, she actually reached out to a couple scouts in the area and started sharing some of my highlights. And this is where she reminds me of Ibrahim, because our senior year, she actually was injured and lost a scholarship opportunity because
Oh,
of her
sad.
injury. But all the while in the background, she was still helping me continue in that career. And thanks to her belief in me, I got noticed and eventually I was given the chance to play at a college level. And so I think that's why, friends are so important, even in the background when you don't know, and those full circle moments we see with Misha. And then Ibrahim, like, I I look at his kind of like a self-sacrifice a little bit to Araya. And yeah, this one friend, she changed the entire course of my life by seeing that future for me that I had never imagined for myself. And if I hadn't had done that, or if she hadn't done that, I would have never gone there, which means I would have never met my husband, which means I would have never met you. And we wouldn't be doing this podcast right now. And
Wow.
so I am
Wow.
so grateful to her, and what a good friend she was, and to not take friends for granted.
What a great friend. I love that even after she was injured, she was still helping you
Oh,
to
yeah.
achieve your goals and dreams that like you weren't even sure you had. Like she was like, "Nope, this is going to be your goal. Like we're going to do
Yep.
it." And I mean, a lot of people would just be like, "Oh, I'm bitter that, I'm not going to get to do it." But instead, she
Yes.
just threw herself into helping you, which is so admirable and so cool. So, and I'm
Oh,
grateful
yes.
because like you said, we would not be here talking or even
No.
related
Right?
without
So
her. So thank you.
no,
Thank
it's
you,
true.
friend.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, friend. So before we go, let's take a quick moment to also express gratitude to a character who we admire from this stretch of chapters. And today's note is for Ibrahim. So here it goes. Dear Ibrahim, thank you for proving that true strength has nothing to do with the odds and everything to do with heart. You entered the Kejari as an underdog, but you fought your way to the final round with grit that no one could ignore. You respected Araya's strength, never once dismissing her because she was a human, and in doing so, you showed us the kind of honor that can't be taught. In a world that seemed determined to break you, you never stopped fighting, not just with your blade, but with your spirit. That's the kind of victory that outlasts any trial. So, from your friends at Romantasy Remedy, Ibrahim, thank you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. And thank you, Kenzie, for this. Fun might not be the right word for this conversation about. No, I'm joking. It was still fun. It was still fun.
It is so fun.
It's just a lot of emotional highs and lows here. But thank you for doing this conversation with me about The Serpent and the Wings of Night. And thank you, everybody who listened. If you enjoyed this, please leave us your comments or reviews on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. And we're looking forward to exploring the end of The Serpent and the Wings of Night, I guess, over the next 2 weeks. Ooh, not many episodes
It's going to be a good one.
Book. It's going to be great. Okay, we'll see you next time. We have reached the end of the main portion of our episode. Thank you so much for listening. Look for Romantasy Remedy on Instagram and TikTok. Check the show notes for those links, as well as links to the printable affirmation and soundtrack playlist on Spotify.
We're really looking forward to connecting with you and nerding out over all the best romantasy. After this, we'll begin the Spoiler Central segment of the episode, which you shouldn't listen to if you haven't finished the entire series, including the rest of this book. We're totally those book besties where one of us reads at a normal speed and one of us reads faster than you can winnow from here to Valaris. Since Whitney is the speed reader, I'm going to duck out while she does Spoiler Central.
All right, you've been warned. Here come the spoilers. First, let's talk about how Araya kills fake Atraxas with an arrow during her trial. In Songbird and the Heart of Stone, Misha kills the real Atraxas with the arrow that he gave Alaris at one time to kill Nyaxia. Alaris, of course, didn't kill Nyaxia, and he hid the arrow as a relic in the Sanctum of Secrets. Now, this isn't the same arrow that Araya uses to kill fake Atraxas, but it's just interesting that both fake Atraxas and real Atraxas meet their end by an arrow. All right, next I want to bring up Nyaxia's famous line, "A dead lover can never break your heart." At the end of Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, when Rain is dying, Araya asks Nyaxia to grant a Coriolis bond to her and Rain in exchange for Alaris's blood. Nyaxia reminds Araya of the advice she gave after the Kejari and how it would have spared Araya so much heartache. Nyaxia refuses Araya's request, saying Rain was destined to be her enemy, and she cannot give them a Coriolis bond. This is why Araya ends up asking Acacia to do it, but that's another story for another day. That's all I have for Spoiler Central today. Thanks again for listening to Romantasy Remedy. Join us again next week as we continue exploring The Serpent and the Wings of Night.